So, the European Union is making a massive bet, and its sights are set squarely on Latin America. We're about to unpack a multi-billion euro strategy that could totally reshape economies, push back against global rivals, and maybe even kick off a whole new era of partnership. Let's get right into what this all means and why it's happening right now. Okay, just look at this number, 45 billion euros. That's the staggering amount the EU is pledging for Latin America by 2027. It's just a mind-boggling figure. So you have to ask, what is all this money for? And, in a world with so many competing priorities, why this region and why now?
Well, the answer is an initiative called the Global Gateway. And this isn't just about throwing cash at projects. No, this is the EU's big vision for a different kind of global investment. It's all about building infrastructure with really high environmental and social standards, fostering real partnerships, and creating what they call a values-driven alternative on the world stage.
To really get why the EU is ready to write a 45 billion euro check, we've got to zoom out a little. See, this isn't just about development for development's sake. This is a story about a massive, gaping hole in infrastructure funding, meeting some pretty intense global rivalries.
And here is the heart of the matter. Right now, Latin America needs $250 billion. And that's not a one-time fix. That's every single year, just to close its infrastructure gap. I mean, that is a colossal funding vacuum for everything you can imagine. Roads, ports, internet, clean energy. And a vacuum that big, it's bound to pull in the global powers. For years, that gap was being filled by big players like the Inter-American Development Bank. And Chinese policy banks, they were a massive force too. But, and this is key, their lending has really slowed down recently. That pullback creates a huge opening for what's called Team Europe to step in and basically reshape the whole financial landscape. And this is where you see this central rivalry really come into focus. The EU is positioning its global gateway as a direct alternative. You can think of it as two competing philosophies. On one hand, you have the EU model, which really emphasizes partnership, high standards, and making sure value is created and stays local. On the other hand, China's Belt and Road Initiative has often prioritized speed and scale, using state-led financing that can sometimes create a more direct debtor-creditor relationship.
Okay, so that's the why. Now let's get into the how. What does this global gateway plan actually look like under the hood?
The Global Gateway isn't just one big pot of money. It's a whole vision built on 5 main pillars. We're talking about everything from building out 5G networks and clean energy grids to strengthening health systems and boosting research. It's a really holistic, modern approach to development. So, how in the world does the EU pay for all this? Well, they're not just writing one giant check. They're using what they call a smart financing model. Think of it like this. The EU uses public funds to act as a kind of insurance policy, providing guarantees that de-risk these huge projects. That makes them way safer and a lot more attractive for private banks and pension funds to invest their money in. The goal here is to use every one public euro to unlock several more in private capital. Pretty smart, right?
So we've seen the big picture strategy, but where does the rubber actually meet the road? Let's zoom in on 3 key sectors where this money could spark some real, tangible transformation.
First up, and this is a huge one, the green transition. Latin America is already a renewable energy powerhouse, but this investment aims to kick it into a whole other gear. We're talking about massive green hydrogen projects in Chile, which has just incredible wind and solar resources, and partnerships to sustainably develop the critical materials, like lithium, that the entire world needs for this energy transition. Second, what you could call the digital leapfrog. Latin America has one of the world's biggest digital divides, but that gap also presents a massive opportunity to just skip over old tech. The investment is going to focus on building out modern infrastructure. Think 5G, fiber optic networks, and data centers. The essential backbone for any thriving digital economy today. And third, logistics. There's this massive global trend happening right now called nearshoring. It's basically companies wanting to move their manufacturing closer to home markets like the US to build more resilient supply chains. By upgrading ports, railways, and really ambitious projects like Mexico's interoceanic corridor, the EU can help Latin America become the go-to destination for that whole shift. Now, of course, an investment of this scale in a region as dynamic and complex as Latin America, it's not going to be a walk in the park. It is absolutely crucial to ground this really optimistic vision in a realistic look at the challenges ahead. When we look at the biggest hurdles,
two of them jump right off the page. First, you've got political and regulatory risk. That's the chance that a new government or a new law could just change the rules of the game overnight. And second, macroeconomic instability, which has been a persistent challenge in the region. Both of these are rated as highly likely to happen, and they could seriously mess with project timelines and returns.
And here is a perfect real-world example of what political risk actually means. Back in 2022, Mexico decided to nationalize its lithium resources. A decision like that, coming from the government, can abruptly change everything for foreign investors. It really highlights the kind of policy whiplash that has to be carefully navigated.
But here's the thing. Even with all those risks, the view from the ground is still one of huge optimism. This quote from Mexican leadership captures that feeling perfectly. Notice the language. It's not just about foreign investment. It's about an opportunity to co-create entirely new industries. That really shows the powerful local appetite for this kind of partnership.
So when you put it all together, what have we got? We have a bold 45 billion euro vision to transform Latin America's infrastructure with a values-driven approach. It's a direct answer to a massive regional need and a clear competitive move on the global stage. But it faces some very real political and economic risks. Which brings us to the final big question. Is this the dawn of a truly new strategic partnership? Or will all this ambition get bogged down by the region's complex realities? Only time will tell.